Well, Foreign Affairs analyst Dana Lewis joins us now live from London. Dana, plenty to pick through there, and Vladimir Putin certainly appears to have thrown a cat amongst the pigeons with these visits and these pacts that he's signed. But could it in the end backfire on him if indeed South Korea decide to send lethal aid to Ukraine?
I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it, Aaron. Certainly, South Korea is furious today. I mean, they see North Korea as a major threat, Kim Jong-un as a wonky, wacky leader who is bent on unifying the peninsula under his leadership. And the South Koreans, kind of the last thing that they need is anybody encouraging the North Korean nuclear program or propping up their military in any way. And they see that this mutual defense pact, what is it exactly? Nobody knows. But will it lead to Russia further strengthening North Korea's WMD program and emboldening Kim Jong-un beyond where he already is now? And that's in a pretty scary place, threatening Japan, threatening the continental United States, threatening South Korea. So there's a lot of fury there. And I don't think that Putin in any way put out the fire today by threatening South Korea, saying, you know, if you dare give any weapons to Ukraine, it's going to be very painful for you. So at one moment, he was praising South Korea on the eve of his visit to North Korea, saying that, you know, noting that the only aid that they've given to Ukraine is non-military, things like food and that sort of thing. And now suddenly kind of, you know, putting a stick in the fire. So indeed, it could backfire on him.
And do you think these visits and these pacts he will sign will in any way destabilise further the tense situation that exists around that area, around the South China Sea? I mean, Vietnam clearly sees Russia as a reliable ally of sorts. It provides so many weapons to Vietnam, but China has influence there. And at some point, Vietnam perhaps needs to make a decision about which will be the more reliable ally for the future.
Bamboo diplomacy, they call it, right? I mean, Vietnam is very good at being friendly to Russia, but at the same time, they are wary of the Chinese and their efforts to dominate the South China Sea. And at the same time, look, you know, I was looking at it before we went on the air, how much trade between Russia and Vietnam. It's about $3.5 billion compared to roughly $150 billion with the United States. So, you know, President Biden was in Vietnam last year. The relations between the United States and Vietnam are much warmer. But as you note, yeah, about 70 to 80% of the arms for Vietnam's defense forces, for military, come from Russia. T-90 tanks, aircraft, 5-kilo submarines. So that, you know, they're walking a line there, but they're not getting involved in Ukraine, certainly, and they have stood back on any resolutions at the UN and as I say, bamboo diplomacy there. But, you know, President Putin, I think all of in the background, Aaron, is that he is shaken and furious himself with the fact that the Americans are now allowing the Ukrainians to use American-supplied arms offensively to strike positions in Russia. That's a policy that just changed. And his idea of going to North Korea and elsewhere is to say, you know, we can supply weapons to places like Cuba and places like North Korea that can rattle your allies in the area. So he's playing a psychological game. And then again today, you know, you even had him talking about revising Russia's nuclear doctrine again and again, you know, threatening people in a very subtle way, if that's possible, with nuclear weapons.
Dana, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for your analysis this evening. Dana Lewis there joining us live from London.